right, so I'm here with Big E, right? Is that
Yes,
what we decided on?
sir.
Eric
Yes,
Fadon, Jr. Eric Fadon Jr. So we've been training together for a month, 2 months?
3 months.
3 months?
3 months.
Man.
Already been 3 months.
Man, quarantine time goes by quick.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we've been, so 3 months, man. And so you got kind of some, I want to bring you got kind of some lofty goals. We were talking in the parking lot the other day.
Right, yeah.
So tell us about that. Tell us about your path.
Really, my path is, I want to get down. I got 100 pounds left to go, but I want to get into the fight world, and I want to hold the heavyweight belt one day.
Yeah.
So
how much have you lost so far?
I've lost 70.
70 pounds, and you lost that in like a month or two, right?
I lost that about, I think I did the math, it was 43 days.
43 days, 70 pounds,
yeah.
And you got 100 more to go.
Yeah.
So what'd you start at?
I started at 440.
440.
Down to 370.
So there was a time in your life when weight was a benefit. You started off. Your athletic career started where?
I started off at Danny Jones Middle School in 8th grade, and then my freshman year I ended up at Timberview.
Yeah.
And that year I was blessed to go see or get to go along with the team when they went 5 rounds deep. After that year, I went to Lake Ridge, brand new school. Yeah. I went 10 season. I got to be one of those seniors that helped the school launch its winning seasons.
Yeah.
So
what position did you play?
I was an offensive right guard.
Offensive right guard for the. Okay, so football was mainly it, right? Like that's all you played.
Well, I did football and I did powerlifting. So
powerlifting
was one of my big things.
Okay.
So.
And on from high school to.
I went to college. I was planning to play at Midwestern State University, but unfortunately,
it used to be they had to get rid of the Mustangs now,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
they had to get rid of their.
Yeah.
Culturally appropriated former mascot.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went to Midwestern State. I was going to study business. Well, originally it was law, but moved to business, and then I was on the walk-on program and woke up late one morning and I got kicked off and told myself I'd do it next year, but next year came and the year after that came and it never happened.
You just never got back in, huh?
Yeah. So, and it sucks, but I'm here now and I'm going after everything I've wanted to go after. So,
yeah. So you didn't go back to school?
I ended up failing out my sophomore year. So I did go back to school for about another year. So I went from middle of 2015 to, I'd say approximately the middle of 2017. Mm-hmm. So
okay.
I didn't get too far along in school, but partying will do that to you every time.
Will. Yes, it will. All right. So we spent a couple years. So what did you do when you got out?
I worked. I had a full-time job. Not to mention, I worked at Chick-fil-A for nearly 5 years. Mm-hmm. It was a good job at first, and then I decided I wanted something more. Wanted to get my hands wet in retail, so I went into retail. Worked at GameStop for a while, and then after that, I was like, I felt like I could bring my management skills to a different location, and I ended up working at Little Caesars.
Wow.
Went to Little Caesars as an assistant manager and worked my way into a general manager position. And I just, from that point on, I thought maybe this is my life. Maybe this is what I'm destined to do, and maybe all I'm going to do is start a family. And at the time, I was dating somebody, and I thought it was okay, but things happen and plans change, and here I am today.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So I'm assuming somewhere along the way there was a weight gain
most definitely.
of proportions.
Most definitely.
So what happened there? So you got out of football, just weren't working out anything? Was this
right? It was. So what happened is my mind was always set on I'm a lineman. I can eat whatever I want, do whatever I want, and I'll be good. Next thing you know, I'm 170 pounds up. And at that point, I was actually truck driving when I hit 440. So
you went from working out 3 or 4 hours a day and powerlifting and running to sitting in a truck.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah.
So,
but the calories in didn't change.
No, sir.
Okay.
It actually got worse.
Yeah.
Emotional eating,
Yeah.
It just didn't help. So.
So when you say emotional eating, what do you mean?
I just I missed being at home. I had a lot of issues going on in my own head. You know,
Yeah.
there was stuff I wasn't taking care of that I wasn't aware of,
Yeah.
and everything came to light a few months ago. But
yeah, just in kind of a dark place in life, or when you say stuff that you hadn't dealt with. What do you mean?
I'd say it was a dark place in my life,
Mm-hmm.
or dealing with stuff from a dark place in my life that only made my life darker.
Yeah.
So, and I mean,
So like stuff like from when you were a kid, stuff that had just happened,
yeah,
stuff that
I was. So I watched. I had a great childhood growing up, and in a way, the way I look at it, it was great for me at least.
Yeah.
I've got siblings; they might beg to differ, but my mother, she was an amazing mother, but unfortunately, sometimes things happen to where she had this surgery, and I was about 11 years old when she had it, and she got hooked on painkillers, and then next thing you know, things started to go overboard.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was about 12 years old when it got worse. And I mean, when I say it got worse, it was she was panicked about the government was watching her, like,
oh wow,
crazy theories, and I was just, and then eventually
so she just
other things.
hooked on painkillers and
right,
okay.
And then at some point it led into heroin and her
wow.
informal job, which, I mean, apparently we're not allowed to shave nowadays, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
so you're how old at this point?
I was 12, and
so you're 12, and you're in a household where your mom's were you witness to this? Like,
yes, I was a witness to it. My stepdad,
wow.
they were going through some things too.
Well, yeah,
there was cheating accusations thrown around all across the room.
Well, she's informally working jobs on the side.
Well, yeah, but well, it hadn't gotten to that point yet. I was when I discovered she was doing that, I was about 14, 15, but I was already out the house with my father. But for me, I got into some trouble at 12, and my mother dipped out after that.
Yeah, what kind of trouble?
Trouble that ended me up on probation for a couple of years.
So you were committing crimes? Like, violence? Were you stealing?
I wasn't stealing. I just the way I look at it, man, it was just a finger was pointed at me, and between me and a girl, and it was just
gotcha.
Things happened, So, and it sucked. It went that way. Me and the girl were best friends at one point, and then her family found out some things, and they were like, "Oh no, like you can't, like
gotcha.
it just happened that way."
If you don't mind, kind of just walk us through kind of what happened.
So it was. I remember the day. It was March 29th. I was supposed to hang out with a couple of friends, and I forgot one of my closest friends had her birthday, and she wasn't really connected with my other friends. And her and I, we'd been best friends. She was best friends with my sister, and we sort of were having this thing in a way. I'm 12, she's 13 that day, and I'm like, all right, so we're hitting puberty now, So we end up hanging out all day, and it gets towards the end of the day, and she pulls out a condom, and I'm like, whoa, like, all right, like this might just go down.
Big day for 12-year-old.
Yeah. So and mind you, I'm 6'2" at the age of 12. I feel that I'm compared to a grown adult at the time already. So and so anyways, we start pretty much just making out, and nothing happened from there. We did what you do when you make out, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And after that, I'm actually the one who kind of said, like, I don't know about this, and kind of tripped myself out and was like, yeah, no, I'm good. I don't think we should do this.
12-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember all the stories about what my parents said about getting pregnant and stuff like that, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. I don't want to take that chance. So, from there, I mean...
so how did that spin into probation?
Well, from what I understand is she told her sister what we'd done, and her sister had an issue with me because of how tall I was, didn't believe my age or whatever happened. And either way, it ended up going to her parents. Parents didn't approve of it. They didn't like it, and they ended up calling the police. And I ended up that night. It happened all that night. That night, I ended up talking to a police officer, and I don't know. It just spun out of control from there. And a week later, I'm in class. I get called to the principal's office, and they're like, "Dude, like, I'm sorry, but you're a good kid, but you got yourself into some trouble, and he's kind of here to take you." And I was like, "What? Like, what's going on?" Like, and at this point too, like, you know, I'd mentioned my mom was starting drugs. You know, once she picked me up from where they took me, you know, she was tripping out. It's part of why I think she left too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, or at least at that time is why I thought she left. But like I said, you know, drugs got to her. So.
Okay, so how did you wind up on probation, being that, you know, two 12-year-olds messing around? Like, how did that?
Yeah, no, they had decided that they were going to charge me on lewd and lascivious conduct. I was put onto house arrest for about 7 months, and then when court finally came, we were about to go into a trial, and my dad stepped in and said, "No, we got to take a plea bargain. There's a 50-50 chance of you not winning this, and then you end up with this on your record the rest of your life."
So you're 12, scared. You got a bunch of adults telling you
what to do.
Hey, do this or else.
Yeah.
So you took the deal?
Yeah, I took the deal. And it put a misdemeanor on my record. And, I mean, I'm a minor, so at the time, I guess they kept telling me it's not going to matter at the end of the day. So I took this deal. I ended up on probation. And my dad's the one who helped write out the agreement. So I had to stick out on probation for the next 6-7 years.
Okay. All right.
I spent 7 months on house arrest, and then and from the 7 months how do I put it? Between those 7 months, I went from house arrest from the age of 12 to 13, and then November came around. We had our court hearing, and after the court hearing, my mother dipped out, and you know, I thought it was my fault for a long time.
Yeah,
and
as kids do, man.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was my fault. And at the time, I was living in Florida. So Florida's got some pretty strict laws. Mm. And, I mean, there's plenty of friends that remember what happened. I talked to them this day, and they all think it's a screwed up situation. But it happened. And I think it's built part of my character. So,
yeah, absolutely. So after that, your mom kind of abandoned you, or what?
Yeah, it's a weird story. She got this idea that, like I said, the government was watching her, and she thought that, you know, that she knew something, she knew too much or whatever. I don't know how to explain it, but it was a crazy moment in my life.
Yeah.
And so one night she freaks out worse than normal, and I remember chasing after her, trying to, you know, stop her from leaving, but I couldn't do anything. She already had her mind made up, and when she said she couldn't take a flight, you know, she ended up taking the car, and she left my stepdad and my little sister and myself at a Whataburger in Pensacola. It was very confusing, you know. It was a
very confusing
moment.
Yeah, I bet.
She took my twin. You know, I got a twin sister. She took my twin and took off to California, and I haven't seen her since I was. Since I was 13.
So still to this day, you haven't?
No, I haven't.
Wow.
I've heard from her, and anytime I've heard from her, it's been about money. But I haven't talked to her in about 2 years.
From your mom or your sister?
From my mom.
Oh, okay.
My mom, yeah.
Have you heard? Do you still?
Me and my sister. My sister actually came out back in August. Okay. You know, so we've got contact. So
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you went to live with Dad?
For about a month. I was living with my stepdad on the base, Herbert Field.
Yeah, Herbie. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. So I lived with him for a month, and my dad made a point to the court out there that, hey, like, it says in his statement that he has to live with a biological parent. So I ended up moving out with my dad, and, you know, things were, when I moved out, I was nervous. I didn't know what to think of it. And
so you're out of a bad situation with your dysfunctional family, and
for the time being.
And on to a good one, right?
But that's what I thought. You know, so I,
Not to make light of it, I laugh because I know where it's going.
You're good. Yeah. I moved in the middle of my 7th grade year, and I started focusing on my grades, something I'd never really focused on. I'm not saying I had failing grades when I came to Texas, but I started focusing on working out and doing things that I normally wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And then I went into 8th grade for the first time, and obviously for the first time, I ended up getting into 8th grade, and I started playing football for the first time.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with football. Football was amazing for me.
Yeah.
For me.
What did it for you? Was it?
It was just the brotherhood, really.
Yeah.
For me, it was. I mean, there's nothing like a brotherhood.
Belonging. The
Right.
offensive line was also like even more so.
Right.
Kind of like you got the
right, and of course, your defensive line, you get close with them too.
Yeah.
Practicing every day against each other. It's something. It's just something you don't. It's
okay.
You won't ever understand unless you play it.
So for you, it's more that like having connection with the other
Right.
people on your team.
Right. Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, 8th grade was good up until a certain point. My sister ended up actually moving out to Texas with me. Mind you, she's my twin, so we had that bond.
Yeah.
That kind of got severed, so that severance kind of hurt a little bit for a while. But
Yeah.
once we got back in connection with each other, things went a little bit off. And then as I became a freshman, things started changing. Once my dad had both of us in his custody, it was a totally different story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Things started getting physical. Not that it was super physical at first. I thought it was okay. Maybe I thought it was okay. I don't know how to explain it. But I remember at one point I was at this point in my life I was 15, and I was out and about one day, and I wasn't supposed to be, but I went and hung out with some friends, and don't get me wrong, they weren't troublesome friends. They were just friends,
Yeah.
know.
So you guys weren't up to no good. You were just
We were just hanging out. I wasn't allowed to do that, and I couldn't really understand why. I just wanted to be a normal teenager and hang out with friends, and focus on school, football, and hanging out with friends.
As
just be normal.
15-year-olds do, chase girls and play football.
Exactly, yeah. And I got caught one day. I got caught that day, and I had a beating that was something I never saw coming.
Yeah.
And
you were a big kid, like at 15.
Yeah, I was 6'2" by then.
Yeah.
250.
So was there just some level of like, I don't know, like fear of your dad? Was he just a bigger like?
Well, to put in perspective, my father is a Marine. But at the same time, I was always told, probation. If you retaliate against me,
so you had,
yeah. So
man, so it just stacked up against you.
Yeah. It was not in my favor, and my stepmom didn't know better. she didn't care for us. She couldn't stand us. So
man,
and it sucked. Like it happened, but it creates a different monster for you.
So he just knocked you around and
yeah. So it kind of woke my eyes up to what I could really trust, and I realized that both my parents are not
much
in the right of mind. Yeah. So
so like at an early age, like you're in a spot where you're like you just said it, like you walk in the 7th grade, like I can trust things in the world, and like you have this thing, and then all of a sudden, like
it goes to shit.
I can't trust anything.
Right.
Like that can be a really psychologically damaging.
It was a mind game for a long time, and I mean it messed me up really good.
Yeah.
I just remember, man, my freshman year when the first incident happened, I was scared shitless. I won't even lie about that.
So you're a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
Okay. About 15. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of my friends remember coming in. I came into school and I had braces at the time. I came into school and my lip was busted.
Yeah.
Swollen. They were asking what happened. And I said, "Oh man, we were just playing around, And that was the excuse I had to go with every time, either playing around or football,
Yeah.
And it sucked, but it,
But you're afraid to say anything.
I was too scared.
Well, you didn't have any place like what's left. Like you already lost mom. You've already been on probation. Like this is the last.
Right.
There's no place else to go if this doesn't work out.
Right.
Yeah.
So because I mean, he reminded me the only place you have to go is a boys' home or prison.
Yeah.
And he told me all the time, boys' homes aren't it, and I'm sure you don't want to spend a life sentence in prison. And I mean, I had that held over my head every day of my life. Grades were screwed up. I said anything about what was happening, I was gone. I was out the door. And then we get into my sophomore year. Well, I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead. I ran away one day, and that's when I really knew probation was serious about not running away. I showed up with bruises and scratches on me at a friend's house, and I was telling them what was going on, and they believed me. They'd heard some stories already, but they were seriously seeing the story now, and I had scratches too from jumping out of a window. Fell into a tree, got a pipe that scraped me up a little bit, but I had bruises from a previous beatdown, and they didn't, and the police, when they got there, they were told about me, apparently, that I was just a troublesome kid, and, that...
You got that record.
Yeah. So I had no hope when they took me back home, and when my probation officer showed up and told me, if you do this again, like, I can't help you, like, the state of Florida is going to want you back, and I can't do anything about it.
And I'm really trapped.
Oh yeah, and it was the scariest moment of my life, because I thought
there's no hope.
Yeah,
hope.
Yeah.
Hope
yeah.
is they
Hope
took
gone.
hope away from me.
Yeah, so I said screw it, and I ended up getting a job. I started working at Hawaiian Falls. I was a lifeguard. It was fun. That was my escape. Working was my escape. Football was my escape.
Yeah, you had like you had these things where you kind of get away.
Right. Yeah. So, there at Hawaiian Falls, I met a girl, and we ended up hitting it off really well. And unbeknownst to me, I wasn't allowed to date. I should have figured I wasn't allowed to date, but I wasn't allowed to date. But parents found out, flipped their shit, and then it was like, oh no, it's over from there.
Yeah.
Of course, me being a dumb teenager, I kept it a secret for a while,
Sure.
And this is my first year at Lake Ridge. I'm a sophomore in high school. We have the worst record in school history so far, and we end up getting to our banquet, and
that program turned it around, by the way.
Yeah,
so everybody out there.
Yeah, don't worry, we're not 0-10 anymore. Well, this season we're not so good. But we get in, we finish the season. The football banquet comes up, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go really bad. And I tell my parents, they're weirdly okay with it, but they told me they weren't gonna go because they just couldn't see themselves supporting a losing team. And I was like, well, all right, that's fine.
Wow.
So I got it in my mind to take the girl I was dating at the time to the banquet with me, and why not enjoy the night? Mm-hmm. Well, we end up going. Things are fine for the first probably hour, and once they announce the food's here, we end up going to get food, and it's in line when my father shows up, and I mean I remember he spoke from behind me, and it was just the most intimidating thing I'd ever felt in my life. My body froze. I didn't know what to say. He looked at her, said a few words to her, said a few words to me, and then told us to both enjoy the rest of the night, and that when I got home, that'd be the last night I get to enjoy. So when I got
dude, like that's got to be. What are you, 15, 16?
I was 16 at the time.
Knowing that you've got to go home.
Yeah. She's crying. I'm over here saying it's okay. I know what's coming. And I'm like, man. Well,
it's crazy to even hear you say, like, what you've been conditioned to just at this point. Like, you're like, it's...
Right.
Like, you're protecting her, and, like, I'm going to go home, and, like, this is norm. This is it.
This is my life, And so... I get home, and I mean, I walked home. I even thought about running away again, but I was like, no way, I can't. Not knowing what's on the line, I just kept telling myself, you know what? I just have 3 more years to deal with this, and I'm out of the house. I don't have to look back. And so I got home a little bit before my parents did, and I walked home. I had a secret cell phone at the time, so I went and hid that in the backyard. And I was just
planning ahead,
yeah. So couldn't be searched when I got home, So got home, changed my clothes, and got ready to think about what I was going to tell my dad. And first thing that came out of my mouth was like, when I got home, I was like, I love this girl. And he told me, no, I don't want to hear this shit. Go in the garage. So we went into the garage. My sister came in there with us too. And, you know, she was wearing her little nightgown or robe or whatever you call it. And I was just in shorts and a t-shirt. And my dad, you know, I didn't think anything of it. And I kept trying to tell him, look, I'm just trying to be a normal teenager.
Yeah.
He said, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear none of this. And so what happened after that, I was put into a chair. I wasn't tied up or anything, but I was put into a chair. And a rag was put over my face. And he talked and told me, you know, he told both of us, you know, told my sister first, you ever do the dumb stuff that your brother does, like, I'm going to do this to you. But he made it a point to know that if you tell anybody about this, I'll kill you and anyone involved. And it was I could hear the seriousness in his tone, because, and he stated too, like, I could go to prison for what I'm about to do, but I don't give a shit. So,
dude, terrifying.
Yeah.
I got goosebumps right now, man.
Yeah.
This is.
But it was my normal, and this was new to me. This punishment was new. It wasn't something I'd experienced before. So he put the rag over my face, and I just remember him starting to pour water, and he told me to hold my breath, and I didn't know what he was talking about at first. So I held my breath, and then I was like, okay, I can't. I need some air. Yeah. So as I let go of what I was holding on to, I started to try and breathe again, and I mean, it was the scariest moment of my life because I just felt like I was sucking down water and I couldn't breathe. And when I took the rag off, that was a mistake in itself. I got punched right after that, and I was told I couldn't do that.
Wow!
I didn't have permission to do that.
So you got waterboarded at 16.
Yeah.
Like there was a time, like, in fact, it was around the same time I think in history. Like that was a huge deal in the news. That was. The world was screaming, this is inhumane to do to terrorists.
Yeah.
To prisoners of war, and you're not allowed to do that. And this is...
Right.
You're going through this at 16 with your dad and sister in a garage.
Yeah.
Man.
I spent about 30 minutes in that chair. And
so you're not tied down, just... What keeps you in it?
It was the fear of retaliating.
Man, just to hear it, like, I can't imagine, like, I don't know if I could voluntarily even...
Yeah.
Like, how do you not just, like, reflexively be like, you know, get up? Like,
it was the thought that clung to me was, you know what, I'll get through this, but I just need to endure it because there's no other choice to endure it. Because if he tells my probation officer what I did, I feel like I'm going to jail or, you know, just whatever happens. Like, I don't know. I didn't know how to tell the truth at that point in time. I didn't know how to express myself. So I just thought the whole time, like, it'll be over. Think about tomorrow. Think about going to school. Think about how your day's going to be. And that's what kept me going. You know, I had to think about the next day and the day after that and what it would be like. At that point, though, that punishment I say lasted for about 30 minutes. After that, I was told to raise my hands above my head. He put on some boxing gloves and he said, you're going to learn your lesson today. And
all right, so he told you you're going to learn your lesson and raise your hands.
Yeah, so I was a little hesitant on raising my hands, but the first punch he threw struck me right in my face.
So you're just standing in the garage with your hands in the air?
I was standing like this. So first punch he threw, I was like, all right, I guess I'll do what he asked. But after that, he started throwing his body shots and it took hits to the face anytime I'd put him down to block it. And I'd fall over whatever equipment was in the room or in the garage, and it was hell for me. It was.
How long does it go on?
I think
probably have no idea.
I don't know. Honestly, I think it went on for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and then my sister.
Your sister's watching this the whole time.
Yeah, she's watching this the whole time, and you can see it on her face. She's just kind of in shock.
Yeah. I'm in shock hearing it. Like, I can't imagine. Like.
Yeah. And so, you know, that ends up lasting for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, like I said. And after that, we spent maybe another 30 minutes to an hour in the garage with him just telling us, like, you understand why I did that, right? Like, trying to justify why he did it. And I was like,
tough love.
Part of me didn't get it because I felt like there was something else that could have been done rather than this.
Yeah, there was.
But I I just went with it. Like I said, this kind of stuff became my normal for me, So, the next day it was a little weird, but we ended up. Obviously, I ended up seeing the girl I was dating at the time at school and comforted her a little bit. And then I told a friend of mine whose mom so happened to be a teacher. So when that friend of mine told his mom what happened, she, by obligation, had to report it to CPS.
So you told him everything?
To an extent, I just told him what happened because he saw some bruising on my face.
Okay.
And like I said, by obligation, she had to report it to CPS, and then so CPS ended up coming to the school one day, and I was in disbelief. I was like, no way, like I don't think I can do this. Yeah. And my sister, she's sitting there saying, like, tell them the truth. Like, I'm telling them everything. You tell them the truth. And I was like, I can't do it. No way.
Good for her.
Yeah. The thing that she got lucky with is she could run away and I couldn't. I was stuck in the house. So she told me that day she was leaving. She said, no, I'm not going back. Screw that. And I was like, okay. I'm like, well,
man,
I guess I'm going to have to brave the storm.
Yeah.
So
you're facing going home alone now.
Yeah. So I go in the room with CPS and the caseworker, and I tell him, like, I never said any of that. It's all bullshit. Don't listen to what I'm saying. Like, I just said it. I don't know why I said it. I just said it. And at first I thought the case was closed. I didn't think I was going to have to worry about my father hearing anything about it. But no, by obligation, she had to go talk to my father, talk to my stepmother, and talk to the two boys. And I was like, talk to their two children. And so I was.
Did their two kids get any of this?
They got yelled at, but that's about it as far as I know. So I don't know how they're doing today. But yeah, as far as I can remember, they got yelled at. And Mom was always there to defend them. So I didn't get that kind of defense. Yeah. Apparently my name was hated on for being junior, but I carry the name with pride.
Yeah. Hey man, succeed in spite of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So CPS gets there, and I guess my folks had a conversation with him. My sister decided actually not to run away that day, but she comes we both go into the house, and my dad sits us down and looks at us, and he's like, what did I tell you to? Like, if I go to prison, you two are dead after I get out. And I was like, okay, well.
So did your sister spill that? She told them?
She told CPS the beans, but CPS believed my parents over anything. So, excuse me. I remember, like, my dad was looking at my stepmom, and he's like, we don't touch these kids, right? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I just remember, like, hold on, like, you guys are seriously lying right now. Like, you're telling me that you're gonna be lying.
It's funny. That's the straw. Wait, you're being untruthful.
Yeah,
that's it. I'm not standing for this.
Yeah. And I was just like, you're calling me a liar. Like, I'm not lying. I mean, I just lied to the caseworker, but I'm not lying about what went down.
Yeah.
And nothing. They were like, nothing happened. Nothing. We don't. So, after that, like I said, my sister ran away the next day.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, I really didn't understand why she was the one running away. I didn't. But from what I understood, she had her own thing going on from her, whatever happened between me and my mother, or her and my mother. And eventually they caught her and they put her in a crazy house for a couple of months. And so I kind of just stayed silent. I ended up picking a job up at Chick-fil-A, and then from there on, I just tried to do what I could to stay out of the house. I'd walk home. I'd sleep outside if I needed to, because if I forgot my key, I didn't want to hear me getting lectured for waking them up,
So you're still with your dad and stepmom?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did the physical abuse slow down? Is it just
for a time being when CPS was around? as far as I know, they were around. It slowed down for a minute. I mean, it's not like I wouldn't get a hit or something every now and then, or some words to mess with my mind.
Yeah.
Not to mention when my PO found out about the running away, or not running away incident, but the caseworker showing up and me having this little girlfriend or whatever. She gave me words of advice of my own, or words of advice of her own, and I was kind of shit out of luck even more. She's like, she told me again, like, I know you didn't run away, but you can't be disobeying your parents either. Like, that's just moral of the story. Like, so again, I was just.
What year is this?
This is 2012.
Okay.
This is 2012. This is 2012 going into 2013.
Not that long ago.
Right. I was a sophomore in high school. And then as all this is going down, I started going into my going into the end of my sophomore year. May comes around, spring football's coming up. I'm ready to play. Like, I've been missing the game. I've been working out really hard. And then my stepmom hits me with, you can't play. You don't get to do spring football because of what you did back in November. And I was like, well, like, what? Like, that happened in November. Like, I can't play because of that. Me and the girl aren't even together anymore. I don't know what your problem is. Like, and so I had that taken away from me, and I didn't know what to do. I had no outlet, and work was okay. I didn't really get to do much with work, but because my money went into their bank account, I didn't get to enjoy that money. Never saw it once until later on, but I end up going into the summer. I'm still working out at workouts, going to work. At this point, I'm working at Hawaiian Falls and Chick-fil-A, just trying to, like I said, avoid staying in the house.
Yeah.
Most people knew me at the time for riding a bicycle to work and to practice. That bicycle might have been pink, But my dad, you can ask. There's quite a few people that remember me riding a pink bike.
Yeah.
I think I even have some pictures from an old friend of mine. But I rode a bike everywhere I went. Pretty much, I was in great shape then.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, throughout this troubling time in my life, I did what I could to hide it.
Yeah.
I didn't want anybody to know what I was going through, just in case they had any bright ideas. I enjoyed working. I made a lot of friends working.
You're just surviving.
Yeah,
basically.
That's what it came down to.
Yeah.
And so we go into this summer, and things are kind of cooled down for a minute. He's not really being physical. As a matter of fact, I think this is when he burned his hands with ammonia. So he really couldn't do anything. Yeah, right.
Karma, right?
So I remember just it's going into my junior year, and I remember we're getting ready for the season, and I'm back on varsity again, and come to find out, the only thing they're putting me down for is field goal. I don't get to play because I didn't play spring football. Mm-hmm. So I think I remember playing only 3 downs my junior year because of that. And so I had my junior year taken away from me pretty much.
Wow.
Just because my stepmom didn't let me play spring football. So it really hurt, and I think I missed a lot of opportunities to really change in the sport.
Yeah. So do you get angry? Like, that's like one thing. Like, to me, I hear it, like, man, I'd be ticked off at the world. Like, but I don't hear it in you.
I think I was more sad. I think more scared than anything, because I didn't know what was going to become of my life. I didn't have any control of it, so I just thought that either I'm going to die soon. I thought he was going to kill me, or I thought that maybe I'll make it out and things will be fine. And going into my junior year, I remember I got my braces taken off, and I was happy about that. Of course, as a dumb teenager, I kept losing my retainer. So, the story of my life. And there was one time let me tell you about.
I had one too. That's why I'm laughing.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I got punishment for losing that thing.
Yeah.
Even when I paid for it, I got punished. And it sucked. I remember there was a time where This is heading into the end of my junior year. I lost my retainer again, and I was like, you know what? I don't even want to hear it from either of them. Like, I'm just gonna go buy it and just hide it. And I thought I could get away with it, and I went and bought it, got fitted for it and everything. And next thing you know, I forgot to leave a number for them to call me with. I didn't have anything at this time for them to call me with, so I called my stepmom, tell her what's up, and then, oh man, all hell breaks loose after that. I get home, and I mean, I remember she's talking all the crap that she's talking to me, and then my dad gets home, and he's pissed. Like, he's tired of hearing her bitch and complain, as he calls it.
Yeah.
And grabs me by the shirt, gives me an uppercut, a few fists across the face, and punches me in my stomach. And my sister looks at my stepmom and tells her to do something. It's not right. Well, he turns around and grabs her by the hair. And I stepped up, and mind you, at this point, I'm bleeding. I've got blood coming from my nose and my lip. And I step up, and he's, oh, you want to bowl up to me?
That was the line, huh?
Oh, that was the line. I got shoved to the ground. I was kicked in the stomach, and I remember him saying, don't ever think you can don't ever think you can outdo me. I'll kick your ass every time, and I want you to remember that, boy. So it was. I mean, I can remember what he was wearing that day too, and what my stepmom was wearing that day. You know, those are the details that I held on to, because this wasn't fun for me anymore. It was never fun in the first place, but I was tired of it.
Yeah.
My sister ended up being the one telling someone what happened, and that someone so happened to be a teacher. So, of course,
you have to report it.
CPS came into my life again.
Hey.
And it was bad. At first, the blame was put on me. I remember I was walking home, and my stepmom's out doing garden work, wearing this red T-shirt and jeans, and she starts telling me how much of a fuck up I am, and, you know, this caseworker's inside the house talking to your dad right now, and all you are is a fucking liar. So I don't know why you're even coming home. I'm surprised. I was like, well, Alexis is the one running away, not me, so I don't know what to tell you. Like, I didn't do anything. And I ended up helping her with the garden work for a second, because I'm just trying to brace for what's about to come, thinking it's about to be bad. And I walk in the house after we finished a little bit of garden work. She announces to my dad that my sister's not coming home, and this look comes over his face like, that makes total sense. Like, she made this story up so that she could get out of the house, and here we are. This is why you're sitting here. CPS caseworker's taking all of it in. Like, I think she's got a bottle of water at the time. You know, my dad's being very hospitable and, you know, talking about his service and whatever, you know. So I was like, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you. I didn't do any, you know, none of that happened. At this point, you know, as most of my lips healed, we're in the middle of spring football. So there's my excuse again. Football is the reason why I got a couple of bruises on me. And I just remember a week later, they ended up finding my sister. Again, they sent her back to another crazy house. Like I said, she had other stuff she was dealing with, so I can't really vocalize what, you know, she ended up dealing with and what she was going through. And it could have been what I was dealing with that traumatized her, but there was other things in her life that she dealt with.
So system kind of let you guys down multiple times, it seems like.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And I mean, it did a number on me for a long time. So we go into my summer of my senior year, going into my senior year. And my sister at this point, she's gotten out of the crazy bin and shipped off over to my grandparents in Florida. Well, something weird happens. My family says, okay, it's your senior year. We'll let you date. We'll give you a cell phone. So I'm like, whoa, what is going on here? Like, I knew better than to believe in this. And mind you, at this point, I'm working 4 jobs. I'm working Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, a bounce house company in Hawaiian Falls. So any free time I had was gone. And I'm still working out with the football team.
Ain't going to school.
It's the summertime, so I'm not really dealing with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Once school came around, I went down to 2 jobs, and football was the main focus. So I end up finding this girl one summer, and I mean, we hit it off really well. And it was awesome at first, you know. Then we get into homecoming, and our birthdays are coming up, and my parents just flip. Like, I'm like, okay, see, I knew better. I knew something was coming. Like, and come to find out, my grandparents sent a private investigator to figure out what was going on. So they were just covering their tracks with everything that they said until that investigator was gone.
Wait, so who sent a private investigator?
My grandparents.
Your grandparents.
Yeah.
Is this your mom or your dad's parents?
This is my mom's parents.
Your mom's parents and private investigator because of all this stuff. And
yeah,
did your dad know about this? Or?
He found out about it.
So he's giving you, he's treating you good for a little while.
Yeah. And I knew better though. I knew that he was masking what he was doing.
Yeah.
I didn't know why, but I said, screw it, I'll enjoy what I can.
Yeah.
So like I said, me and this girl, we hit it off, and in a way, she kind of became my hope. In a way that, you know, I was like, okay, maybe I do have a future outside of this house. Gotcha. You know, maybe if I fight through this one, I'll make it. It's my senior year. I'm about to be 18. So as things start to kind of unravel, and we're going back to what things used to be, they told me I had to split it with this girl. Forget your feelings, you know, forget this girl. Me being me, I said, no way, I can't do that. And I remember, like, it was, we were in the second round first round of playoffs, and she comes to see the game with her dad, and my parents show up and they see her there, and they're like, why the hell is she here? Like, she doesn't even go to the school anymore. Why is she here? So I get home and I'm getting questioned. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So we get into the second round and playing Longview. We win that game, and I go to hang out with her for dinner. I told my family I was going to go with the team. We're going to go have midnight dinner. Well, we end up having midnight dinner. And my dad finds out where we're at, catches us, and she took off. I made sure she got out of there, and then I dealt with the consequences. And after that, at this point in my life, I had a car, 89 Honda Civic hatchback, you know, stick shift. There you go. So I know how to drive a stick. Just for you guys, just so you know. There's still some people my generation that can drive a stick. So I get out. I get home, and shit goes down, of course. And I'm like, screw it. I'm gonna go to work, or quote unquote, I'm gonna go to work the next day. And I end up going to work, and I don't come home. I say I just told myself I need to get this. I need to leave. I can't do this anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm tired. You know, I'm burnt out. So I spent a week. It was Thanksgiving break. I spent a week trying to figure out how I was going to get this out to my probation officer. How I was going to tell people what was really going on. And I was encouraged by a lot of people to do it. I still showed up for practice. I was living out an hour away, still showing up for practice though, because I couldn't let my team down. You know, I was a starting offensive lineman at the time, so my team was one of the most important things to me. And playing this game was one of the most important things to me. We were third round for the first time ever. Yeah. So on that Thursday, Thanksgiving. Maybe it was Thanksgiving, maybe it was Wednesday, I can't really remember what day it was, but my stepmom showed up, then my dad showed up, then the police showed up to practice, and they're having a conversation with my coach, and they're like, look, dude, you gotta go, you can't, we won't let you practice, and you won't play if you don't go home. So I went home, and I was told by my probation officer in Florida, you know, like, I'm going to have to run this up, and we're going to have to see where it goes, but you could be expedited back here for this. And I'm trying to tell her, like, you guys don't understand what's going on. And I was like, but I'm saying this in front of my parents, so it's like I don't know how to say it without something happening, thinking that I might get killed for telling the truth, you know? And, I mean, for years, at this point, it's been years that I've been dealing with this, so I'm just thinking in my head, like, it's possible I'm going to get killed. It's possible. I mean, and that's what went through my mind for a long time. And at some point, you know, the season dies down. Of course, we end up losing this third round game, and I kind of lay low for a little bit. me and this girl are still dating. I mean, I've got cell phone galore. You know, I went through 7 cell phones that year, and I was like, I remember one day I got beat with one of them. Well, I got caught. It was. I never knew a man could beat someone with a cell phone, but I got beat with a cell phone. So all across the face. Yeah. So I spent till March trying to figure out what I was gonna do, and I was losing more hope.
Yeah.
As the day went by, like I didn't think I was gonna be able to get out of there. Well, a friend of mine's father passes away, and me and this friend are really close. We've been working at McDonald's together for a while, and we played football together. He's a year older than I am, so he graduated already. Mm-hmm. But his dad passes away, and I'm like, you know what? I really would like to go to this funeral and support my buddy, you know. So I tell my dad, and my dad doesn't like this dude because he's stood up for me in the past. Mm-hmm. And me and my dad kind of get in this argument, and I'm like, look, what if it was your best friend's dad? And I compared it to his best friend, and he lost it from there. He's like, you have no idea what that man's done for us. And I was like, you know what? But this is my best friend. I'm trying to make these relationships. And he flat out said he doesn't give a fuck. And I remember he was in my face just yelling. And I remember the tobacco getting into my face. And I'm just like, stay focused, stay calm. And I started bawling while he was yelling at my face. And he's like, oh, what are you crying for? You think you're bowling up to me like this? And I was like, no, I'm not. Next thing you know, his hands are around my neck. He's squeezing the life out of me. And for some reason, at this point, I was like, I'm not going to die here. I shoved him off of me, and I told him to stop. And it didn't stop, obviously. You know, he came back for more. And I was kind of surprised at myself what I just did. And I remember, like, it was in a weird way. It's almost like he snapped out of whatever trance he was in. Because he calmed down, said we're not going to discuss this with anyone. Your mom doesn't need to know about it. Nobody needs to know about it. And the whole time in my mind, I'm thinking, she's not my mom. Stop saying that. But I'm getting lectured, and I realize the reason I'm getting lectured, I can feel my neck throbbing. He choked me hard enough to leave marks on my neck. Yeah. So, and he knew I had another cell phone somewhere, and you know, I looked around when we finished lecturing. I looked around my neck, and there was nothing. It was imprints maybe, but nothing really visible. Well, I get to school, and he dropped me off. I wasn't allowed to drive at this moment anymore. He dropped me off. I go to the library, and at this point, some people knew what was going on with my life, and they were there to talk to me. And they point out I've got bruises right here on my neck, all along my neck, and that was my escape. That was my grandfather. I got in touch with my grandfather and my sister, and I told him I was too scared to do it, but I sent him the picture. My grandfather took it to my probation officer. My probation officer was the one who told me I could leave. She realized what was going on. Nobody in my life has ever said bad things about me besides my family. And when I got out, you know, like I said in my story, I felt like that was the first time I was free in my life, you know. Got to enjoy prom. That was a hell of a night. That was a fun night, you know.
It's the first,
first time I'm free. And I mean, really, I thought I was free. You know, I spent a long time with nightmares and dealing with anger issues and how to control my emotions. And
well, even just telling the story, like, I've been kind of watching you while you tell this, like, crazy story that's gone on.
Yeah.
Like, you've been pretty matter of fact. Like, this is the first time that you like, seem emotional. Like, the finally, when you hit the point of, like, being free. Like, you know, you tell me a story about, like, my dad waterboarded me in the garage, and you're, like, there were even times when you kind of laughed it off.
Yeah.
And to get to the point when, like, you finally got to go to prom.
Yeah, that was a hell of a night, you know. Me and the girl that we started dating in the summer, we were still dating. We were relieved to make it to prom. Yeah, we were really relieved to make it to prom, and it was an awesome moment for me. It was just.
So you're out. And free.
I thought I was.
Yeah.
I thought I was.
Uh-oh.
I ended up going to college, and
Yeah.
I had all sorts of nightmares for the first year.
Yeah.
But I ended up moving in with a friend of mine, and I call them my family today.
You're good, man.
Yeah.
Take yourself. So it was a friend of yours' parents.
Yeah.
And they took you in.
Yeah.
This was during college.
No, this was actually the end of my senior year. This is when I got out. Yeah.
Before you went off to college.
Yeah.
So you stayed with them for a while. And
For about till college,
Yeah.
until I went off to college. But
so I knew you stayed with them, and then I knew through church, through Pastor John and the youth ministry, you were part of that at the time. And,
right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was one of the funnest moments of my life, but there's also this part where things were really weird for me. I remember one morning, the youngest of the siblings in that household came looking for the truck keys, and I remember like hearing him walk in and tiptoeing towards me and then whispering, be like, "Hey, dude, like, where's the truck keys?" And at that moment, I was having a vivid dream. It was not a good one, and so I woke up, and I didn't wake up really. I think I was more in like a sleepwalk, but I woke up and my fist was ready to go. I was ready to swing on him. And he's like, "Dude, it's just me. Like, calm down." I dealt with that. I dealt with stuff like that for years, for a long time, thinking that he was going to come for me, and he never did.
Is that something that eventually kind of died down, or do you still?
It was something I had to work through. It was something that for a long time I had to work through.
Yeah, I bet.
But I went into that summer, and I went for the first time. I went to Glorieta, New Mexico, on a church camp. 18, going to a church camp was weird, but I was going anyways. It was one of the best experiences of my life, and I just remember too, like once I got out, after church camp, right after that, probably a month after that, I went to what's the place called down in San Antonio? The Guadalupe River.
Okay.
I went there with my ex-girlfriend for the first time, and that was something I never got to experience. I got to hang out with her family, and I got to enjoy that moment, and that was one of the best moments of my life. And I was, I was looking forward to doing it like this for the rest of my life. But this is what life had to offer for me.
Yeah.
So now I didn't realize this, but as the years came by, I resented my dad. I resented my mother too, and I didn't realize how much resentment I had for him.
Yeah.
And just being able to, as I started to try and enjoy all the fun things, I kind of used my resentment to enjoy all the fun stuff that I did. And then it's hard to explain, but I was just thinking like, I'm doing this now. And
so everything was sort of, even the things you should have been enjoying in life and the things that were good are still sort of seen through a lens of everything you've been through with your parents.
Yeah.
So instead of you just enjoying it for yourself, it's more, revenge on them.
Yeah.
Is that
like I beat you guys.
Yeah. So even the things that you should just be enjoying life with your girlfriend and hanging out. You're still like stuck back there.
Right. And it didn't dawn onto me until recently, but as I resented him so much that when I tried to move on with my life, I tried to focus on school, I tried to focus on jobs, I tried to focus on have fun in my relationship. It changed me.
You look for distractions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It made me a different person. Somebody that I wasn't supposed to be, you know. And I remember, my ex was trying to tell me for years, like, you gotta stop hating him. Like, look what's happening to you.
Man.
And
hate is heavy, man, and to carry that around, it weighs on you, man. It brings you down. You said it perfectly a second ago. It made you somebody you're not supposed to be.
Right. like I said, I ended up going to college. I spent 2 years in college, and I was trying to use that resentment to be the reason why I was here. And I was like, like, why can't I focus? Like, I didn't realize how much energy I was using just to hate them, to try and focus on my schoolwork.
Wow.
And I was like, man, like, I just don't feel like doing this shit anymore. Screw it. I'm not going to do schoolwork. I want to wing it, and I'm going to do what I can. And I ended up failing classes. I ended up, partying more, eating more, stopped working out. Life was unmotivated.
Yeah.
So.
So college
I flunked.
Doesn't work out.
College doesn't work out.
And you came back here, or did you?
No, I ended up staying in Wichita Falls.
Stay in Wichita Falls, all right.
So I wanted to come back home, but, I was telling myself, like, I don't want to put the burden of my problems on somebody else and another family. So the idea that got into my head, man, like I said, maybe I'm just supposed to be.
So what year is it at this point?
We're in 2015. 2015 it's between 2015 and 2017.
Okay.
2017 is when I got out of college, so technically we're entering into 2018 as well.
So we're there, and you're still dating this girl.
We're still dating,
but not going to school.
Not going to school. I'm just working, and I figured I could work my way into my success, what I wanted, what I thought I could do. And of course, like I said, my dream was to be an athlete. But I thought to myself, okay, maybe that's not what I'm destined to be. Excuse me. So I just start working. I'm looking for jobs, get into management positions, and then I start thinking maybe I'm just meant to have a family and just screw it. That's all I'm meant for. Maybe my destiny lies in raising a better son and raising a good family.
Yeah.
So as that goes on,
so your dad's still.
Oh yeah, he's still out
there. Trucking around, but you just no contact at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the whole time that I have this in my mind, my dad, before I left, he gave me some words that I haven't forgotten to this day, and he was right. He was right, but I'm still like, okay, yeah, you were right, but now you're wrong about what I'm about to do.
Yeah.
He told me I'd be suicidal in 23 when my girlfriend left, or my ex-girlfriend left me. It happened, but I didn't realize that. He planted a seed in my head in a way. Maybe it was his goal to make me resent him. I don't know. I don't know what his goal was overall, but I thought about that for years and years, and I tried to use it to move me forward, and it didn't do anything for me but hurt me. So, and hurt people I care about. So. As I'm working these jobs, I think my relationship's going somewhere while she's getting her degree and becoming a nurse, and I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? Like, I'm not making enough money anymore, and we're entering into, say, it's 2018, 2019 era, and I'm a general manager for a little bit, end up getting let go of that job, and at this time, I'm a general manager and a bouncer. Man, I loved bouncing. I enjoyed fighting so much. In Wichita Falls? Yeah, in Wichita Falls.
Where'd you bounce at?
I was bouncing. Well, most people know it where Denim and Diamonds used to be, but at that time it was Boulevard nightclub, and I ended up bouncing at Lone Star a couple of times. And so I was stationed at Shepherd in the Air Force in around the 05 to 08 era. Yeah. So me and my roommate, Big Dave. Do you know the Iron Horse? It's downtown. Yeah, it's kind of a bike hangout. Yeah. He was the bouncer, and I checked IDs at the door. That was our weekend moonlight gig. So let me tell you, you airmen, the fresh concept airmen that always came through, they were a rowdy bunch.
I know. Yeah, so they were. Yeah. That was a fun time. It was a way to let loose some steam on the weekends and not get in trouble.
Yeah. But man, at that moment of my life, like bouncing, I wish I could have made a living out of bouncing. I had so much fun with it.
You party and get in fights.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So
and get paid by the hour to do it.
Exactly. So it was the life, and I was like, okay, cool, I like this. But of course, like at some point, bouncing wasn't enough to get me by, and I was looking for jobs, and all I kept hearing people talk about was getting their CDL. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I just go get my CDL? become a truck driver. She graduates in a couple of months.
So you got really at this point kind of no ambition. You're just sort of floating.
Yeah.
Oh, CDL. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
What's next? You're just kind of
Yeah. So I said, screw it. I'll just get my CDL and make my money, and there we go. You know, she's becoming a nurse. I'm becoming a truck driver. We got money in our pocket. Cool. We'll go from there. And then don't get me wrong. Throughout the years, you know, I've had my weird fits of rage and jealousy come about me. You know? So I in January I go into truck driving. I start training. I start, you know, doing everything I need to do to get my CDL. And so once I completed my training, you know, I'm on the road, and then of course COVID hits in March. So COVID hit, everybody's quarantined, but I'm out here truck driving, delivering stuff, and mind you, I'm eating a lot.
Gaining weight?
Yep, I'm gaining weight.
Well, and you're in a bad emotional place too.
Yeah.
Like emotional eating is real. Like,
Oh yeah.
You know, that was maybe for a long time the one comfort you had.
It was.
Like, I can eat something that tastes like, that was the 4 years, you know, especially like living with your family, like sitting down and having eating pizza that's delicious and like,
right.
Man, that's 30 minutes of feeling good in 23 and a half hours of, you know, getting your ass kicked by your dad. Like,
right.
You know, so it's easy to see how that kind of.
Right. You know, and then when I started off as a truck driver, I was sitting at 350 pounds. I gained almost 100 pounds off the bat.
So when you graduated, when you were playing, what were you, 250?
I was 270.
270.
I was 270. I was quick, strong. You know,
You gained 100 driving a truck.
Gained 100 driving a truck. Gained 100 just eating. You know, I gained a total of 170 pounds.
Okay.
So at the peak of my truck driving, I was 440 pounds. And that was back in July.
440.
Yeah, that was back in July too. So I remember, like, at some point my back started to hurt really bad. And,
Weird.
Yeah. I went and got x-rays done at the chiropractor, and my back's all sorts of crooked, my hips all jacked up, whatever. Well,
bad posture, carrying the weight, like there's a lot of,
and I remember I was just bitching and moaning about my life to my ex, and like, you know, I'm not doing this because I sacrificed my life for you, and blah blah blah, and I'm becoming that kind of person, you know. I'm like, I realized something, like, part of me realized the words that were coming out of my mouth, and I was like, what am I doing? And then I'm like, you know what, fuck it feels good. And so I was like, you know, started pointing fingers at her, started pointing fingers at everybody else, like, man, like, my life sucks because I'm not doing anything I want to do. I'm just trying to make money. And so her and I ended up breaking up in August, and she said some words that really messed with my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the things that hit me the most, though, and I probably needed to hear it, was I'm acting like my father and I'm being manipulative.
I was thinking it. I was like, a lot of what you're saying in your behaviors is, I'm unhappy with my life. It's y'all's fault.
Right.
And you're projecting it outward. Your dad took it to an extreme level, but yeah, in a way.
Right. So that all hit me at once.
Man, I had to hit hard, though.
It hit really hard. And then I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I was like, dude, like, you're fat as hell. Like, what'd you do? And so at that moment, man, I'm depressed. I'm really going through it, and I've been going through it for years. Like, don't take out of the fact that I did forget to mention that as my resentment got worse, my depression got worse, and there was points in this 5-year span that I wanted to kill myself. And so when we broke up and she told me all these things, I was like, man, I don't think I can change. I think it's too late for me. I tried to kill myself. I've got a scar now on my stomach to show that I tried to do it, and unfortunately,
so your dad had told you.
Yeah,
you were suicidal.
You
actually attempted. Yeah. Like, you weren't just feeling it.
No, I was done.
So after you guys had broke up.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I did it in front of her.
Wow. So what happened? Like, if you're okay telling it.
What do you mean? What happened? Like that day when I did it. So I woke up, and the night before I was drinking. I posted a dumb story saying that, you know, next couple of weeks are probably going to be rough for everybody, but I'm gonna enjoy the tonight. And I woke up and I was like, you know what? I know where she's babysitting at right now, or nannying at the moment, whatever she's doing. I was like, we just came back from vacation about 2 weeks ago. There's still stuff in my truck I need to give her, so let me give her that, and then I'm done. I'm just gonna do it right there. Decision. Yeah. So I get there, call her, tell her, hey, like, you know, I got this stuff in the truck for you, like, you know, come get it. Well, I told her, like, I don't think I can do this without you. Like, I at first, you know, I put the blame on her.
Yeah. She was carrying a lot. Like right. you mentioned a while ago, like you kind of put your on your girlfriend. Like, this is my hope. Like that's
right.
Yeah.
Right. And don't get me wrong. At that moment of my life, she was my hope, but I didn't figure out how to move past that. But I told her, I put the knife to my stomach, and I said, I don't think I can do this.
So you just like a pocket. You just took out.
I took out a pretty big dagger. Yeah. I tried to just shove it, didn't go through.
You tried to stab yourself in the stomach.
Yeah. It didn't go through, and I went up against my truck, and it went through. And I remember, like, she yanked the knife out of my hands, calling me an idiot and everything. And I was
How deep did it go?
As far as I know, I almost cut my liver. I was really close to cutting it. The doctor said that, you know, luckily we didn't have to do surgery or anything like that. Just got a couple of stitches in there. But she took the knife out of my hands, threw it, and called me an idiot for this. And
so your girlfriend pulls a knife out of you?
Not out of me. No. I'd pulled it out, and it was in my hand. And I was telling her, like, you know, I tried to tell you guys, like, something's wrong. I can't figure it out. And so
what was your motivation for involving her in this? Or do you?
I think it was the only person that I knew that at this point in my life.
Is cry for help, and she was the only one to hear you, or
I think so. Yeah. I think that's what happened. Because at this point in my life, I'm disconnected with everybody. There's only one person that I've been talking to for the last year, maybe 2 years, and I just don't feel like nobody really knows who I am anymore, and
including you.
Yeah. I had no idea who I was anymore. So I put that dagger in my stomach, and she grabbed it out of my hands and tossed it, called me an idiot, called the cops, and I took off. And I'm sitting here bleeding in my truck, thinking, you know, maybe I'll just bleed out. And I start thinking, maybe the reason I'm not dead right now is because it has to end with me and him. So she's called my adopted mother. My adopted mother's called my sister. They're calling me. My phone's blowing up, and I start thinking, like, maybe I just need to hide out for the night, go find him later. And so
talking about your dad.
Yeah. And so I take off, and I'm halfway to Wichita Falls. Well, my dad ends up calling me, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, what are you doing?" And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm bawling, confused. Like, and he tells me, "You need to come home. Come home now. I told you to stop fucking around years ago. Come home." And I was like, I'm sitting there telling him, "All right, I'll come home." And the idea just comes into my head. Maybe him and I are just going to kill each other. Who knows what's going to happen? Obviously, at this point, I've lost my mind. I'm way over my head.
Yeah.
So I start driving home. It takes me about an hour to get to that area. Well, my roommate Alex calls me, and he's like, "Dude, like, what do we need to do? Like, how can I help you?" And so I'm trying to tell him, like.
So he calls while you're on your way to.
Yeah, he's like, look.
To double homicide in a blaze of glory. Me and my dad in this saga.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Okay.
So he calls me, and he's like, "What do we got to do?" Like, I was like, "Look, man, this is what I think needs to happen." And he's like, "You know, I support you in anything. I'm gonna help you as best I can. Why don't you come back to the apartment?" And mind you, at this point, the police are called. There's about 15 different counties looking for me at the moment, from what I got told. There's all sorts of people, all sorts of cops looking for me. So I'm on my way back to my apartment, and next thing you know, I see a cop that's getting out of his car and waiting for me. And so I see that, and I take off. Next thing I know, this cop's behind me. I get pulled over, and I'm like, I can't run from the police. This will just be worse. So I get pulled over, man, and I'm like, he tells me, I remember rolling the window down. He just tells me to hold my hands up, man. I got blood on this hand, and I'm like, look, like, I don't want to do anything. He's like, I need you to step out the car. And I remember getting out of the car and I just started bawling. He was telling me it was all right, you know. I just remember I didn't know what I was thinking. Ended up going to the hospital. They stuck this little thing down in my stomach, and I was like, "Oh, that kind of stings." And I'm sitting there wincing at the doctors, and I was like, "You're right, I did this to myself. I don't know what I'm complaining for." So they were looking to see how deep it went. I mean, they stuck half a Q-tip down there, so and I was just at that moment I stayed silent for about 2 days, and I just thought to myself, what was going on? And I was like, God, like, what am I doing wrong? Like, where did I go wrong? And I didn't start talking to anybody till day 2. You know,
Yeah.
I just had to figure out what was going on in my mind. And part of me realized too, like, you know, my resentment for my mother. Like, I realized I never mourned losing my mother. You know, part of that was my issue, and all the crap that I'd been carrying with me. You know, it was just screwed me up. So. Yeah. My revenge is what broke me down. It changed me, and I lost all ambition in life and became this hollow shell. So while I'm sitting there in the hospital, you know, I'm thinking about what went wrong, and what do I have to do to fix this? Like, where am I going?
Yeah.
And I started thinking, like, dude, what have you always wanted to be? What have you always wanted to become? And I was like, I told myself, I want to be an athlete. Like, that's all I talked about was being an athlete. In high school and the time I was in college, for the last 6 years, that's all I talked about was being an athlete again. And I just never got back to it. And so when I got out of the hospital, this is about the time you and I met.
Yeah.
About 3 days.
So John introduced us. John's he's a youth pastor. At our church, right?
Yep.
So he's the one who introduced us. So how did you come to get connected with him?
John, John's a crazy story. The stuff that I told you that happened my sophomore year, John actually, him and I met when Rush Creek opened up.
Yeah, so I figured he was through school and through the youth ministry and stuff, but somehow you got. So you made this decision. I want to be an athlete. Yeah. In the hospital while they're stitching you up. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to start competing again.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what happened in my mind. I was like, that's to me, that was the only thing I knew. Like, that was the only thing that I knew that I could be good at.
So you walk out of the hospital and you, like, how'd you land on, how'd you pick a sport?
I just remember, like, I think back to what I enjoyed doing, and I was like, man, I loved fighting. I loved being a bouncer. Watched the UFC a couple of times. Shit, why not?
Yeah, I think I'll join the UFC.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I started looking up ways, like, how do I even start?
Maybe Dana White maybe somebody will tag him in this.
Right. I was like, how do I even start? What do I do? And mind you, at this point in my time, I'm still 440 pounds. I'm walking out like, like. So I'm thinking, like, man, what's next? What can I become? What can I really become if I put all my thought and focus on the training?
Yeah.
And
well, man, like, just on that, everything you've told me, like how stubborn you've been through this whole story, is like even facing the consequences with your dad. Like, so I went and got a cell phone. I went and dated this girl anyways. Like, you don't give up easy. I'll tell you that. Like, and you like I even wrote that down right here. It's just. Stubborn-willed, so that.
And I think it's my will that's pulled me through a lot of things. I think it's my will that's pulling me through right now. Like,
well, that's what gets you where you're going, for sure.
Right.
So you did you share with John that, like, hey, I think as soon as this heals, I'm going to join the UFC?
Thursday when I got out of the hospital, of course I had a lot of explaining to do to my adoptive family, and it was not a fun day.
Yeah.
It was the couple of days that I was going through was not fun. It was emotional. It was, man, like, I'm out of a relationship after 6 years. Yeah. I don't know what the hell to do.
Alone. don't know where I'm going,
Right.
don't know who I am,
Right.
got all this baggage behind me. Like, yeah, it's a
roller coaster.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, you know what? Every time I've gone to church, has always been a good message for me. And so I have stitches in my stomach. I go to church. I tell John what happened. John's like, dude, what? And I'm like, yeah, it happened. I know it was a bad idea, but it happened.
So was that the way he introduced us? Was that like
day.
right away?
Yeah.
Okay. So you had stitches the day we met?
Yeah, the day we met. I had stitches in my stomach still.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like I knew the story, but like the time frame now is like making it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I told John, like, dude, like, honestly, the idea that's come to mind is I want to fight. I want to get in the ring. I want to do something that's the only thing I know how to do, and that's be competitive. And so,
What's a good man? You picked a good one too. It's a good way to channel.
Oh yeah,
like all that anger, all that like man, you can really.
Right. And it's crazy because we'll get to that point. But
Yeah.
when we met, yeah, I had those stitches in my stomach. I had stitches 2 days. That Tuesday when I came out, we were rolling. I still had stitches in my stomach. Yeah.
Man.
I pulled,
You should have told me.
Those couple of times.
Find something, let me know.
Those couple of times I was holding my stomach while you were on top. I was like, yeah, this kind of hurts, but you know,
like,
I'm not
I got the pick out. You feel like that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, so John came up to me and was like, he said something, was like, I forget, it was something along the lines of like, hey, I got something I want you to meet, like, he wants to go to the UFC and was like, hey, can you help him? And I'm like, well, dude, like, I'm a 43-year-old guy who picked this up a few years ago. Like, I know some guys who can though. So yeah, that was the thing. It's like, I'll get him plugged into the people that can help him. So
right.
That's when he was like, hang on, wait right here.
Yeah.
And went and got you. But
yeah. And then since August 28th, we've been training.
Yeah.
And of course, I've been battling my emotions. I've been trying
Sure.
to figure out, who am I really? Like, what am I really about?
Well, yeah, and so your journey, your training and your goals to get there is, I call it that's a tool.
Right.
Right. There's Eric putting himself together and the person he is, and who he's made to be, right? And figuring out who that is, that's one small part of it. That's training and all that is not what gets you there, but it's definitely something that can help.
Right.
I have conversations like this with a lot of people in here, and that's the one thing a lot of people I think miss is that like that find like jujitsu or martial arts or something. They're like, oh, this thing saved me. It's like, no.
I don't think
it's a tool in the toolbox, but
I think it's allowed me to figure out myself a little bit more.
Sure,
for sure. It's allowed me to channel my energy, for sure, and something that I've never really been able to do. When I was playing football, I tried to get angry. I tried to use my resentment to my advantage, but my resentment didn't do anything for me. It just gassed me even more.
Well, you don't seem like an angry guy.
No, I'm definitely not.
Like, like even sitting there, like, I'm like, yeah, I don't see you getting in the ring being like, I'm going to, like, it's just not your personality.
Right. I learned to get control. A few years ago, you could ask anybody. I was a pretty heated guy. I was very,
bouncer days.
Yeah, bouncer days. Before that, I was always aggressive, but I realized like my aggression didn't do anything for me. It was just making my life worse.
Yeah.
So I've calmed down from that point in my life, and I've learned to compartmentalize it. I've learned to, when I need to use it, I'll use it. So
our meeting and you getting kind of on this road and getting plugged in where you have and all of that was based on the decision of like, I might as well go to church. That's always worked.
Yeah, okay. Pretty much.
Yeah.
And I look back at it and I'm like, dude, like I thought God had a message for me to go listen to that day, but no, He had someone for me to meet that day.
Yeah, man. I think we even had that conversation, man. Like, I thought this is what I was saying earlier, man. Is I struggled a long time with everything I went through and was like, man, like the story of Moses was always like the burning bush.
Right.
Like like obviously that's easy. The bush catches on fire and talks to you. Like, well, yeah, okay, of course I believe. Like that's a crazy miracle and tell me what to do.
Right.
Perfect. Where's my burning bush? And now that I look back on it now and I realize, man, at the time when I was like, man, adrift, and making bad choices and at that crossroad that could have gone either way is like, you know, I always had, there was a youth minister, I had, you know, Coach White. I had, you know, I remember a few different sergeants in the Air Force that stuck their neck out for me, or there was always somebody, man, that was just in my life.
Right.
For, that wasn't supposed to be, by chance, by some crazy coincidence, you know, and now that I look back, I'm like, you know, that's the burning bush. Like it was against the odds, and here we are, and look how that turned out. You know, so yeah, I do believe that it's people in each other's lives that God uses, and not necessarily these crazy stories we read about.
Right.
So
yeah. So yeah, and I think I've had a lot of blessings in my life, and I didn't realize them until after. But you know what? I'm glad I realized I had them. And as I continue my training, you know, I just continue to get better, and I'm focused.
So your goal is, just so everybody knows, so far you've been training for 3-ish months.
3-ish months, yeah.
Approximately at Mighty MMA.
Yes, sir.
In Mansfield, right? That's where it all started.
Represent.
Professor Jeremy Metcalf. So you did your first jiu-jitsu tournament against a lot of people telling you like, you should hold off on that for a little while.
Yeah.
What? How long in?
That was
a month and a half.
Yeah, I was a month and a half.
6 weeks in.
Yeah. October 17th.
Eric said, "I'm signing up for a jiu-jitsu tournament in the heavyweight division." We were all like, "It's been 6 weeks. Maybe go." Signed up. How'd it go?
I got second place in my division.
Second place.
Yeah, second place. Yeah. My first round, I won by 12 points to nothing. Yeah. My second round, I lost to submission. Tapped out 5 points. He got me out. He got me to tap out.
Against somebody who was experienced, right. And no shame in it. I mean, walked away with a silver medal in your first competition.
Right.
I think you said you were planning on doing Naga here in next weekend, right?
It's the next 5th? December 5th?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
It's the 5th, if COVID dependent.
Right.
And so it just got postponed, but you had you've also been training in
Muay Thai.
Muay Thai.
My first smoker fight, I actually just belted in Muay Thai as well. Got my yellow belt now. So very proud of that. You know, very proud moment of my life. I was training for a smoker that was supposed to be last Saturday.
So it's just postponed, right? Until whenever
day they rescheduled to.
Given what's going on, but the important thing is you were slated to get in there and get kicked and punched. Yeah, so I mean I've seen you at the gym and taking a beating, which I guess you're more than a yellow belt in taking a beating at this point, but.
If they had a Mastercraft, I'd have a black belt in it.
Well, it's funny, so many people. I think we had this conversation. You talked as like you show up, jiu-jitsu is especially like this, but I'm sure the other ones are too. Is that you show up, people say hi to you and they're nice to you, but like you don't feel like you fit in for a little while. And a lot of people have told me that, like, man, like I don't know, guys don't like me or like they don't fit in and everything. And man, give it time. Like you don't understand how many people show up and go for a month. And like you can't be best friends with everybody. There's a million people and most of them quit. Right. 90% of them quit. They quit coming. It's like, so you got to kind of get past that thing and like, it's got to be hard. You got to go through that losing stage. You got to get beat on a little bit and then be like, no, I'm back. And then people are like, all right. Yeah. Big E's here. Big E's staying for a while. He ain't quitting. So then they start to like, all right, we can be friends now.
Yeah. Going into the Mighty MMA, I realized like some people didn't think I was going to last. They just thought I was there to.
Probably a lot of people doubted you, especially you're 440 pounds, just been through this crazy, crazy situation.
Mind you, nobody knows about besides you.
Yeah, well, I mean, you come out of the hospital with stitches, and people, and you're telling them like, I'm going to go to the UFC. Everybody's like, That's a little. Let's one thing at a time. But
yeah. So, at this point, right before competition, I'm still feeling like I'm not a part of the crew, and I go in and get second place, and next week I'm like, oh wow, like everybody seems more welcoming, like this, So
yeah, it's not that you got to prove yourself, and it's not a, everybody's not like, well, some people look at it as like, oh, well, why am I going to prove myself to you? Like, you don't.
Right.
And that's not what anybody thinks, and it's definitely not a I'm better than you thing. It's just a, like I said, it's when you've seen 300 people that have come and gone, you're like, remember that guy's name? Yeah, he had blonde hair. You're like, yeah, kind of. Like, there's so many people. It's just like, maybe it's an energy thing.
Right.
It's like, I don't have the energy to get to know all the people that come and quit. It's but once you see, it's that respect of like, hey, Eric went in there and bought. Eric lost one. He won one. He got a medal. Then he came back. Like, he didn't,
Right.
It just like, it's not that you proved yourself. It's just like, all right, he's going to be here.
Right.
He's going to keep coming. Like,
right. And
so.
I have that determination. Like, Conor McGregor said it perfectly. It's got to be an obsession. So I'm trying to make it my obsession,
Yeah, man, I've seen you. Like, you're a hardworking dude, man. Even like we've even had conversations when I've been like, dude, you got to rest. Like,
yeah.
you got
to. And I tend to forget to rest every now and then. I did the math. I'm spending 30 hours training plus my full-time job, and I want it. I want it bad. I want it more than I've ever wanted anything in my life. And I'm starving for it.
Well, you can get there, man. I firmly believe that. Like, I've seen how hard you work. We've just heard a long story about how stubborn and bullheaded you can be. And, I firmly believe you can get there if you set your sights to it. Hell, you lost
70 pounds.
70 pounds in a month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah,
40. You said 43 days.
43 days. I lost 65. I just broke that weight barrier again, so I'm dropping weight again. But I lost 65 pounds in 43 days. I started August 28th and October 17th. Well, I have my math wrong right now, but the date's wrong. But whatever it is, the day I weighed in to competition, I was down 65. So
yeah. So what we talked about, and kind of let everybody out there know if they're interested, is so you're setting your goals to do this, and you mentioned to me that you want your story and what you've overcome to be something that helps other people, be something for a little bit greater good than just I survived.
Right.
And so I kind of threw out the idea, like, man, there's a lot of books out there, a lot of stories about the champion who goes back and is like, yeah, this is what I overcame to get there, and we read and we go, awesome, I have hope too. There's not a lot that are like, hey, at the beginning of this story, be like, this is what I'm about to do, and put themselves out there like that. And you were like, man, that's scary, that's daunting, but like, hey, why not start here and let people follow you as you write the book, rather than read it when it's done.
Yeah. And I figured it may motivate other people to do it too.
Yeah.
I want people to follow me on this journey. I would love to be someone else's inspiration to pick themselves up. I was on antidepressants for a while, and I no longer am. I'm free of that. And I realized all the stuff that I've been going through, the stuff that I held myself to, was causing me to be depressed. And now that I'm not resentful. I'm in pain, and that pain is what's making me better. What's forcing me to go do what I need to do to get the life that I've always wanted. So, I ask anyone if they want to follow me on this journey. Follow me, man. I'd love for you to come along and watch as I grow. So,
well, like I told you, I'll put this up on my channel, and I've got a social media thing that we can host it on.
Yeah.
Through the page, and just people can follow your journey as you go, ups and downs, ins and outs. We'll post things from training, just where you're at and what you're doing, and I think it's very cool that it's not a like. It might be 3 months, and Dana White might be calling, or we might be 2 years down the road, or who knows what's going to happen, and who knows what off ramps are on this highway that you're traveling down.
Right.
It'll be a very cool journey to follow to see where it goes and what happens. And what the thing you don't see in a lot of these books when the champion writes his whole thing is the places that, like, as they stumble and fall and they get back up and they persevere through it. This will be a chance for people to see, like, it's always shiny. That's the way to put it, is like, look at me, the champion. Like, oh, I went through this, but look at me. And it's always shiny. People don't get to see how somebody that's going through that journey, it's dirty.
Oh yeah,
it's hard. Like
get your hands
it's
filthy.
you got to get dirty, and it's
as the saying goes, man. The only way to grow is you got to get some dirt on you so those flowers can grow. And it's what's happening right now. The dirt that I've been through, I'm just growing now. It's all about growth, and I'm stronger than I've ever been before mentally, and I'm getting stronger physically every single day. And that's all that matters to me right now.
Definitely, man. Like I said, man, I got faith you're gonna get there, and I'll help you in any way I can. And I look forward to following this.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited. We're got a long road ahead, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah, awesome. So you got anything else you wanna add?
So man, I just wanna. My friends keep saying this is my comeback, and I really don't think this is a comeback for me. This is a brand new me. This is a different version of me they've never seen. I think this is the real Biggie. Yeah. This is the Biggie that everybody's always anticipated. And
yeah, good.
This is somebody that this is a brand new monster.
So man, something I ask a lot of people, when they come in, is like, man, if you could go back and give advice to that kid, or other kids out there that are in your same situation, like what would you say to them?
I tell them it comes to an end, and there's hope. There really is. Whether you realize it or not, keep fighting. You'll make it. I promise you that. And I know you may be scared. I know you may be going through something right now, and I know you don't quite understand it at this age. But at the other side, man, I promise you, there's something better. And seek help too. As soon as you get out of that situation. I'm not saying go immediately and seek help, but once you feel like you're ready, talk to somebody about it, because don't wreck yourself like I did wreck myself and have to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
And for the adults out there that are going through it and still dealing with the emotions and the trauma from everything, find your niche, find something that you love, and go after it, because that's what's going to free you from everything. And that's how I feel. I feel in a way that I freed myself from the way that I used to think, and I've rewired pretty much how I think. I'm hungry now. That's it. That's all there is to it. You gotta change the way you think, and you gotta forgive. That's the biggest thing, is forgiveness.
Yeah, that's a huge one. Yeah, it's such a huge burden to carry that around. You mentioned adults and stuff carrying this around for so long. Like, it's the burden of, like, even though you're through it and you survive it, like, it can plague you for the rest of your life.
Right.
I work in mental health. I would recommend to people, like, get help.
Yeah.
Get professional help. The stigma is all this stuff. Like, I promise you, it's not what you think it is. Go out and try. I mean, what do you got to lose? Like, make an appointment, go talk to somebody. In worst case, you lost an hour, and you can be like, you don't even got to tell nobody.
Don't do what I did and try and just ball it off by yourself. Don't get me wrong. I've been to plenty of counselors, but I swallowed my pride, and it's like, what? I need to face it, and I didn't go and get help like I should have, but I'm facing it now, and like I said, the weight room and training is my therapy for me. That's not everybody's therapy. You gotta find your therapy. Yeah. So
one thing I've noticed is the reason I even started recording some of these was just to put word out there, like, that there are different therapies. You don't have to sit on a couch and talk about your mom. Right. Some people do, but that's not everybody. And one thing I've noticed is that all the stories, no matter what it is, like, it's always about other people and having support in your life, like reaching out to other people,
right?
Or surrounding yourself, people that have good people around them to help them through that,
right? And speaking of support, I'm fairly certain I started this journey alone, and I'm telling you from experience, you're going to pick up a lot of people along the way that are going to support you. You may lose some, but you'll find more, and those people will help you pull forward. So
some are there for a season, some are there for the long haul, but it's amazing how God kind of puts the right people in your life at the right time. So awesome, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on your show, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in. Boom.